गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल ऑफ यू। नमस्ते, आप सभी को नमस्कार, सुप्रभात। आज हमारे साथ डॉक्टर वनीता शर्मा जी ऑस्ट्रेलिया से जुड़ती हैं। उनका लाइव लेक्चर है जो बीइंग वुमेन हेल्थ इश्यूज इन आयुर्वेदा टॉपिक पर है। तो डॉक्टर वनीता शर्मा एक बहुत ही ख्याति प्राप्त चिकित्सक हैं, ऑस्ट्रेलिया की मेलबोर्न से जुड़ती हैं। तो आप सभी का सुबह सुबह के हमारे इस प्रोग्राम में बहुत बहुत स्वागत है और ये फेसबुक पर लाइव हो चुका है। मैं ज़्यादा समय ना लेते हुए मैं डॉक्टर वनीता जी से अनुरोध करता हूं कि वो अपना लेक्चर प्रारंभ करें और मैंने आपको शेयर स्क्रीन का ऑप्शन दे दिया है।
Is that visible and audible?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Thank you. Namaste to everyone. And I really thank you, everyone, to be taking out time to listen to this important talk which we are going to do today, because just recently we had a Women's Health Week, so which I'm a little bit delayed from that week, but women is always has to be there. We believe women's presence is very important in any kind of decision making, which I read yesterday just in the TV and the newspaper. So there is a lot of challenges for us being a women dealing with the health issues in Ayurveda. And I would more keep it like as a generic, just to introduce the perspective of Eastern medicine, Ayurveda, how we deal with any kind of like women health concerns or the issues. Here I start my presentation. So being women dealing health issues in Ayurveda, this is the first picture I want to show, where we say our generation is becoming so busy trying to prove that women can do what men can do, that women are losing their uniqueness, and women weren't created to do everything a man can do. Women were created to do everything a man can't do. So that's why I chose this title of Being the Women, because it's very important to get that ownership of being a woman and how we need to look after ourselves and prioritize ourselves and believe in our uniqueness rather than justifying our rights just over the males or the men. Here, there is a great link between the gut microbiome, the stress hormones, and the sex hormones. So how we really focus on balancing the hormones to balance our life. It's very, very important these days because women are not prioritizing themselves and even not even looking after themselves in the way they should be, considering whole of the community, the family, husband, kids, anywhere in the society, they would prioritize everything in front of their own health and well-being. So it's really important to create that balance in your life, as I would say, include myself, even my life, to balance and keep our hormones in balance. So a new modern woman, that was New York Times, I just recently read an article, about women being ambitious and feeble. Why is that so? Why we women are considered being, if we are ambitious and we are career oriented, we are considered feeble or weak? So we take into account the stress epidemic. So over the years, not just the menopausal women, but most of the women come with the medical conditions rooted in hormonal imbalance. So that's, I observed during my practice that most of the time, it's not the pre or post menopausal syndrome or the concerns or the issues that women come with. It's from any age, and it could be young to old, because of the stressful lifestyle that the women have made and manifested these kind of like women issues or the conditions and affected their hormones. It's only they are doing it themselves, but leaving their uniqueness, as I mentioned in the picture. So most of the women have like issues and concerns as painful periods, the mood swings, fatigue, insomnia, to infertility, uterine fibroids, osteoporosis, heart disease, obesity or weight gain, hot flushes, polycystic ovarian disorder or polycystic ovarian syndrome. These are also two different things. We don't, although they are kind of like similar, but they are still different, because in the syndrome, it comes as a package. And the Western medicine, to compare with the Ayurvedic perspective, Western medicine more emphasizes on the domains and the functions of various types of hormones in our body. And the Eastern medicine, which is Ayurveda, emphasize on the context within which they exist and how they relate to each other. So it's getting a look deeper within yourself and deeper inside, because Ayurveda is a science of life and gynecology is the science of women, we call it. We call it as a science for women because it's mainly the conditions associated with the gynecological issues are related with a woman. So it is a science related with a woman. So we need to see that link between the science of life and the science of women. The science of life basically is all dependent on your eating habits, diet, lifestyle, and fixing up and prioritizing your health and well-being over other different priorities of life. And then Eastern medicine really focuses on the women, as they even call it as a Nari Shakti, which is the power of women. Women, as considered, are much more patient and powerful and more tolerant naturally, which is a universal law of nature for the women to be like that, because that's how we are made and born naturally. So combining the Western and the Eastern medicine perspectives, there are mainly two types of hormones that affect on the women's health. So there are stress hormones and sex hormones. And the stress hormones basically effect on your gut, and the imbalance in the gut health, you'll be amazed to know that the microbiome or the prebiotics or the healthy bacteria, how that is linked with the women estrogen, the stress hormone, which I recently read in an article. I was amazed, and I did a little bit more study on that. It was written by Vanita Daya, by my name. She's a naturopath based here, and she writes some wonderful articles, and I always read that and enhance my knowledge according to her perspective. But it's very, very important for us to understand the link between the gut microbiome and the stress hormones and the sex hormones. So all we got to focus is on creating the right balance of these two, which will give us a much better energy and a deeper restful sleep, which I'm going to mention in the strategies for the women to overcome not only their stress, but even to deal with a major concern that most 99.9% women are conscious about their weight. I would say minimum 95%, 5% of the women would be like that, who feel comfortable in however they are. And most of the women, whoever saw me over the last few years, I've been practicing for 20 years, more than that. And I found women mostly complain about weight gain. And they talk about weight gain. Do I have a thyroid issue? Or do I have an issue or the concern that actually is dealing with the energy level and the sleep? So when we don't create a right balance of these two, it obviously starts giving us distress signals. Like usually women complain about the headaches, sleeplessness, irritable bowel, hot flushes, tightness in the chest, neck area, and overwrought emotions. And there we go. Our hormones go out of whack. And this is where we need to stop, think, and start considering ourselves and looking and prioritizing ourselves as a woman and trying to see it's a time for me to be looking after myself, to be able to look after others. So when we talk about all these concerns and all the distress signals, I reckon most of the women would say, I have one or the other issue. So that's why I said, are we talking about you? I consider every single woman, and I am talking about every single female from where we begin our journey as a girl and then become a woman. So let's talk about this little quiz. We say, check the things that apply to you. Do you jump when the phone rings? Do you feel anxious when checking your mailbox? Or do you dwell on the many things that you could go wrong later today later this week, month, or the year? Do you commonly feel anxiety, stress, or worry for no particular reason? Do you commonly feel anxiety, stress, or worry for any reason? Do you commonly have anxiety about your family members? Do you get panic attacks? Do you have depression? Are you exposed to any of the environmental pollutants or toxins like smelly paints, plastics, industrial plants, city pollution, new construction, or renovation projects? Do you experience any of the following symptoms associated with your menstrual cycle? Headaches, which I mentioned before as well, mood swings, acne, bloating, constipation, heavy or scanty bleeding, painful cramping, irregular periods, pain at ovulation, or bleeding between cycles? Do you use synthetic hormone therapy of any kind, like birth control pills, fertility drugs, or hormone replacement therapy for menopausal symptoms? Or do you have hot flushes, insomnia, heart palpitations, accelerated heartbeat, thyroid trouble of any kind, low immunity, infertility, heart disease, osteoporosis, cancer, diabetes, adrenal burnout, or endocrine disorders? If you answered yes to even one of these questions, it is likely your hormonal balance is affected. Okay, the most important thing which women often do, self-analysis and self-diagnosis. I really suggest that women shouldn't come to any kind of conclusion and start taking any kind of like medicines, including the herbal supplements or the multivitamins and vitamins, because the excess, or unless you know what you are taking that for, even though it's a herbal supplements, don't consider it's safe if you're taking without the prescription of any of the practitioners or Ayurvedic Vaidya practitioner, Ayurveda-Charya, or Ayurved doctor. I'm not saying come to me, but see someone, see who is closer to you, and you know that that person, because there is a lot of quackery as well, doing little courses like for 1 month, like 2 months, doesn't make you a qualified practitioner. It's very, very important that you actually look at and seek the advice from a qualified Ayurvedic practitioner. If you're not comfortable with men, go and see a women practitioner. But don't take any kind of even herbal supplements considering that it's a safe remedy. Now, we call it to get that right balance. And if even you have one yes for that, the quest for a better health, it starts, it begins. I'm going to talk about this wheel of healing. So when we say the women, the moment she starts feeling, the more you feel, the more you heal. And with the feeling, the healing begins. So you got to feel and prioritize yourself and look at all different aspects of health, whether it's physical, emotional, environmental, occupational, financial, spiritual, even having a healthy family relationship with your partner or with the whole family. If we consider all these aspects of healing, that's where our journey begins towards the balanced life that gives us joy, good health, happiness, much more courage, wisdom, and strength to deal with the daily stress, will manifest the desires, we will feel blissful, and will feel loved. So it's very, very important in all aspects of life that we consider everything has to be in a balanced way. So I used the analogy of the wheel because it's a continuum and it continues without any beginning or end. So it has to be ongoing. You can't prioritize something over your own self and your own health, which is the most important thing for any woman to be continuously looking after herself, to be able to look after others. So I call the worry, the women takes a lot of worry, W for women, W for worry, W for winning, W for warrior. So we women are an integrated supporter and an integrated, continuous, going in a continuum without any beginning and end, looking after and taking care of all others apart from ourselves. So, why we say medicine is not a healthcare? Food is the healthcare. Medicine is the sick care. Why I say that? Medicine could be any medicine. You need it when you are actually unwell and you have manifested some kind of illness or a condition. You definitely need a medicine and you definitely need to see an Ayurvedic practitioner. Or if you don't have any kind of like medical conditions and you think and you stand every morning in front of the mirror and you say, wow, first thing in the morning you would look at is you will stand in front of the mirror and you will look, ooh, I've developed some packs around my hip area, around my belly and on my lower part of the body. And I say, that's weird, isn't it? We all fact and consider and we look ourselves and we start developing that guilt in ourselves that what have I done to myself, rather than considering yourself. And if you think that without the exercise and only by going on some so-called crash diets, fat diets, high protein, low carb, or paleo diet, keto diet, vegan, any kind of diets, I am not going to agree for any of the women to be going on any kind of crash of fad diets. I even heard that there is something called compensation diet as well, that you actually compensate and try to fast and go on the diet plan the next day after you had a party a night before. And you had a few drinks or you ate something, and women start believing that they're gonna, whatever carbs or fat they have achieved in one night, they are going to get rid by working over the next day, by doing extra workout and going on a juice diet or on some kind of fat crash diet. So it's a time for us to see it for what it is. Is that right, what you're doing to yourself? No. Now, my take on the diet, I just took some information from the article, as I mentioned, I read about the link between the microbiome and stress hormone. So how the gut health and the metabolic health of the women is linked and associated. It's very crucial, the metabolic health of the woman, as women go through hormone changes quite a lot, at least minimum, definitely 4 times in their lifetime, because when they get into puberty, they get married, they get pregnant, deliver a baby, and then the menopausal state. So the woman's body has to go through already a lot of changes in their existing life. So how estrogens, the hormone, influence the microbiome to regulate the weight gain and lipid or fat deposition. So the excess lipid accumulation and the estrogen imbalance and the poor digestion is the one that leads to the fat in the belly, hips, and the back, typically seen in the menopausal women. But a lot of time, women straight away would come and ask, I'm not losing weight, I have put on about 30 kilos in last couple of years, or I have put on like 5 kilos just since I've been home, and all I've been doing is just trying to follow healthier diet, and I'm not doing anything in excess. I'm not drinking, I'm not smoking, I'm not eating sweets, but still I'm putting on weight. Hang on. There must be something that you are not doing right. Yeah? So where do we come to? So the gut health or the gut microbiome, the healthy bacteria, it really influences on the metabolic health. How? Because anyways, the estrogen hormone, it fluctuates. We all understand if we are practitioners, but there is a lot of confusion about the hormones with the people considering that, I don't know, there is something wrong, there is some hormone imbalance, I don't know what it is. The women's hormone, estrogen, is such a crucial hormone in women to regulate the weight gain. And it's very obvious that it fluctuates during the women menstrual cycle, particularly PMS, menopause, complex conditions like endometriosis, PCOS, fibroids, hyperplasia of the breast or uterus. So estrogen in proper amounts helps in preserving the metabolic health by keeping not only your weight down, but it reduces the abdominal fat and improves the glucose tolerance. So it's even helpful if somebody is suffering from diabetes. So women and weight gain, PCOD, polycystic ovarian disorder, or polycystic ovarian syndrome, as I mentioned, PCOD, and there is cysts in the ovaries, but how one is called a disorder and another one comes as a package. So we don't need to worry about to go in the details and understand which hormones, how and what. All we need to understand is we need to focus on the women stress hormones and need to develop some kind of like happiness and consciousness, awareness about our body and know what's right for us if we are choosing and adapting that. With a weight gain, women kind of think they're going to do a weight loss programs. All these crash diet programs or offered in the health spas and the gymnasiums and all these kind of like health places where they are tipping and ripping off the women at the name of detox for a weight loss. Women, we need to understand women weight. Weight is something associated with a fat loss, which is a slow and gradual process. And you need to forget about it that you can lose a weight without a workout. I will mention that in the strategies later. So it's not getting conscious about that you have put on certain kilos. What I believe, it even depends on the body type you have. And if you are kapha, according to, or kapha prakriti, there is a natural tendency as well for women to put on weight in Ayurveda. But then there are certain issues. One is the hormone imbalance, as I'm indicating to. There could be a thyroid issue, but it doesn't mean that if you're not losing, it could be only a thyroid issue. Don't ever get confused and start linking yourself that this could be this and this could be that. The main thing is the diet, and the most important thing is that you need to focus on yourself doing a workout, nutrition, exercise, relationship, and a lot more other factors that count, that actually makes you put on weight as well. So even stress, people think by going on a crash diet or a fasting, they can lose weight. It implies both on men and women. No, that's not truth. If you're not going to eat, even then you're going to put on weight. So the main 4 principles of eating right to build up and stimulate your digestive fire, Agni, and the metabolic health, digestion, metabolism, assimilation, everything that depends on these major 4 principles that you need to adapt straight away if you're looking at not losing weight, but maintaining and be comfortable about the weight, but losing a fat, the unwanted fat, because fat also and the carbs also is equally needed to get rid of the unwanted fat. So the 4 main principles are: never wake up to the tea or coffee, which is the most common thing that most of the people, 99.9% of the people, when they wake up, they want to refresh themselves, either a tea or a coffee. What I recommend is, I know easier saying than doing. You would say, I would die without a coffee, or I call it depresso too, when you don't get an espresso. So it's the caffeine that you're putting straight in the morning, first thing, when your blood sugar levels are low and they drop down when you go to sleep. So we need to raise that blood sugar levels, not by taking these tea or coffee, but instead eat a real food within 10 to 15, okay, let's be realistic, maybe within first half an hour when you wake up. You get freshen up, you brush your teeth, you do the tongue cleaning, you come. That's the very important thing as well with doing the tongue cleaning, not to take the toxins inside by eating whatever you eat. It's very, very important to use the copper because it's antimicrobial and it kills the toxins. Anyways, people use stainless steel, the tip of the brush, like at the back, like with the thistles, like they rub on the tongue, they think like they've done enough. But some don't even do that. They just brush their teeth and they think like they have oral health really good and hygiene. They have a white, bright teeth. But that's not the right thing, because the tongue is the main source of taking all the food in and building up our digestion, and where the whole night, because you haven't eaten anything over the night, there is a thick coating that comes over your tongue, which is called ama. The indigestible food particles, if you look in the mirror, you have to look at your tongue, not your body shape, to be able to get to know and doing. So what you do is you do that, and then you take the real food within 10 to 15 minutes of waking up, within half an hour, realistically, as I said. And we are all different in Ayurveda. Ayurveda, we consider that to keep a balance of Vata and Pitta. And even like for a balance in all the 3 doshas or the elements that we believe, like the matter is made up of 5 elements, similar way our body is made up of 5 elements. So to keep those elements in balance, mainly we focus on Vata, Pitta, Kapha. So these three, if they are balanced, the other two gets naturally balanced because they are further composed of another two to each. So how we create that balance? By eating every 2 hours. It's very, very important to eat every 2 hours because it will keep your metabolic and your metabolism to the optimum level and digestion to the optimum level. Because when you're going to be empty stomach, you're going to develop acid, which is going to give you reflux issues and acidity, and obviously all the conditions that are associated with pitta aggravation. And then it's not about just like balancing pitta. Like if you're going to be empty stomach for a long time, you say, I'm so busy, I have a work schedule about from say 8 hours minimum to 12 hours, 15 hours, 18 hours I work out of 20 hours, I work out of 24 hours. I only take a rest for 4 hours. No. Don't look for the excuses if you're really determined to lose the fat and unwanted fat. So how we say, based on our lifestyle and on our Agni, because Agni, you can raise your digestive fire by eating those every 2 hours. So when you follow these two principles, the top two principles, you will naturally fall into the category and you will start following the third principle, which is eat more when you're more active and less when you're less active. In saying so, why we do that is because you need to burn energy and you gain energy. So you burn fat, and when you are active, you actually gain more energy. So you need more food to burn the fat. When you are less active or you have a sedentary lifestyle, you're just like sitting at home. Say these days, for example, during COVID, most of the women, men, everyone, kids, like we are home. We are not doing much of the activity, no physical activity, no running, no kind of like, we do have to follow the government guidelines. I'm not going to say that you should go against it, but yeah, like say, for example, in Melbourne, they allowed like 2 hours of exercise like now, which is plenty of time. Like you need to fix up your schedule. You need to put up a time and create a chart. What time you're going to eat, what time you're going to sleep, what time you're going to exercise, what time you're going to relax, calm, do yoga, meditation, and keep the family, spend time with family, and keep a life balance. So when you have adapted the third principle, we say you start up the day in the morning from starting a real food. I'm not saying to give up on the tea or the coffee, but please do eat before you drink tea or coffee. No excuse even for a green tea. Can I tell you, surprisingly, the green tea has a caffeine too. Any kind of like chamomile, mint, any kind of like herbal drinks or herbal teas, if you say, oh, I don't drink caffeine, or tea basically has a tannin, not that much of the caffeine, and coffee has a caffeine. So we need to have a real food to increase the blood sugar levels that drops while we are in sleep and in restful mode. So we need to build up that to be able to burn the fat during the day. and the muscle mass. That's what we need to build up and burn the excess of the fat. So finish your last meal at least 2 hours before sleep. Why? Because you need to have a gap of 2 hours between the sleeps so that the food can get digested, assimilated, metabolized, and so that we can have a good metabolic health for the women, which is really crucial, as I mentioned in the last slide. It's very, very important for us to be having that gap of 2 hours between the sleep and the dinner. And there has to be a fixed time for everything. You can't compromise that you have to spend that time taking your kids or cooking for your husband or your partner, or you are putting yourself last. Forget about the weight loss. It's not possible. So the fat is fit. Why we say there is no food that is flattening, that will make you lose weight. Be mindful. You need to be smart enough to know and choose the right time to eat it. So, fat is fit because you need fat. Not the polyunsaturated fats, but you need the monounsaturated fats to absorb the carbs in the body and to build up your energy level, feel more fresh, active, energetic. So when we talk about fat, we talk about ghee, which is known as the clarified butter. So in the picture, you must be noticing what makes ghee so special. A lot of people have a misconception and they assume that ghee actually makes them put on weight. No, hang on. Thanks to the ghee, especially the ghee, the older the ghee, the better it is. We even prepare on the full moon night to get some added benefits into the ghee. The ghee is the extracted, that's why it's called clarified butter, because any ghee, hang on, even the fat-free products, they say, if it's a butter, it is a fat. Doesn't make a difference if it says fat-free milk or a lean milk or a lean butter, fat-free butter. These are all marketing gimmicks. We don't need to fall for all that. We need to be aware, conscious, and understand what's the reality, that we need to eat ghee. We need to eat everything. We don't need to give up on our favorite foods when we want to lose weight or lose fat. Whenever you think about the ghee, the cow's ghee is actually blissful. It strengthens our nervous system. It gets rid of the dryness in the skin, and it's pitta balancing because it's calming, cooling, and it balances the fire. So when you actually take a salt-free butter or a cream and you cook it in the pan, that's another thing, that the pans or the utensils or dishes that you use for cooking, they also matter a lot, because you need that right amount of protein, iron, calcium, especially with the growing age, and especially to stay fit with that fat, the mono unsaturated fat, not the polyunsaturated fats. So this picture that I put, the building blocks of a thali, it's actually a Gujarati from Gujarat in India. It has got all the protein, iron, calcium. It's called thali because it's a big, like a platter with all the foods that has all the 6 tastes. We call it, we need in Ayurveda all the 6 tastes to create that balance and to have an optimum level of metabolism and metabolic health in the body, which is really crucial for the women. So there is one spicy or okra, which is kind of like a salty, savory. There is a astringent, pungent, all these like 6 tastes. If you want to know more, you should be reading on Google or somewhere, or if you see an Ayurvedic doctor, they would explain you how important to include the 6 tastes every day in the meals, like in any form, either split up during the day or in one meal. But so there is a lentils, there is rice, there is peas. A lot of people think rice makes them put on weight. Well, does it make you eat brown rice or you eat basmati? Even jasmine rice, as long as you're doing a workout and you are doing yoga and you are going for a walk for half an hour, or you are just doing a light jogging. So that would actually help you without working out, even if it's a treadmill or a bike at home if you can't go out. Cooked potatoes, peas with tomatoes, fried chickpea flour, and fenugreek fritters. So fenugreek has a different taste. Chickpea flour has a different benefits. Now, there is a chickpea flour cake, which is a dessert, and that's another thing, giving up on the sugar and salt. I call them white sugar, white salt as white poisons, because they do degeneration of the bones in women and all the issues like degeneration of the bones and having issues like osteoporosis, multiple sclerosis, and all the kind of like stuff that happens because of that. So we need to be really mindful about having like a proper nutrition. Doesn't mean that you're eating salads and you're eating cereals and you're not having any kind of like whatever, like a so-called junk food. You should be eating at least, if not once a week or once a fortnight, one of your favorite food, anything you like. You should cook fresh and eat at home, not from outside, but something that you women like, and it's your favorite food. So it's not going to make you put on weight, not going to make you fatty. It's fried lentil wafer, chili pepper, thick sweetened yogurt, buttermilk, which is a blessing. And buttermilk is even better, considered better as compared to yogurt, because it if you take in the morning, they say it's like a boon of life. The buttermilk, you can buy buttermilk from the supermarkets as well here in the West, but you can make it as, which we call it as a lassi. But you can sometimes have a mango lassi, but lassi with a cumin seed powder, little bit of pink Himalayan salt, and a black pepper powder sprinkled on top. Have a salty or a savory. If you want to have, try to have 1 day off from the sweets, the sugar, white sugar, and any of the products that are prepared from sugar. You can have 1 day off if you can't do it like kind of ongoing. But instead of white sugar, I always recommend use raw sugar, Repadura, that you can find in the health food stores. It's even called shakar or gur, jaggery in Indian or in Ayurveda. But in the health food stores and even in the good 5-star, 4-star hotels, they serve you tea with a Repadura, good sugar, which is the pure cane sugar. It's not a polished one, the white one. Try to avoid white sugar and white salt. Use pink salt, which is better for the digestion and will keep you healthier, as in help you with your bloating, gastritis, any kind of like issues like say high blood pressure, hypertension and all that. Even in those kind of conditions, you can have a pink salt, not in excess. Anything in excess is bad, and unless there is other conditions involved, please do see a Ayurvedic practitioner and only then do it. So why we say older the ghee, the better it is, because it's like called as a Shatadhyot Gritam. So the Shatadhyot Gritam is something that's washed 100 times, we say. So it has very important prebiotics that create an optimal environment for the gut-friendly bacteria to prosper, and highly beneficial for the digestion, which we women need. Then ghee is absolutely lactose and casein free. It is the purest form of the fat, which has no trace of milk bands. And then it cuts the stubborn fat, it shrinks fat cells, it has a high smoking point, it reduces the GI, assimilates nutrients, helps digestion, prebiotic, reduces cholesterol, heart healthy, boosts energy, lubricates joints, nourishes the skin, balances the hormones, which is the main focus for a woman, boosts fertility. It's a brain nervine tonic. It doesn't ever expire. More older it is, and you don't need to stock the ghee in the fridge. Please keep it anywhere outside. You would never see a fungus coming on top of the ghee, and it is lactose free. And it's rich in antioxidants, the so-called antioxidant, which people are really mindful about, but they need to have those antioxidants in the meals, in the food, not the antioxidants so-called quinoa or chia or any kind of like these fancy, weird, so-called, I call them weirdy words, but it just like attracts the attention and the marketing gimmicks, as I said. So it doesn't mean, I don't mean to say that quinoa and chia seeds or anything as such are not healthy, but even in the normal foods, you can get antioxidants, and the ghee, linoleic acid conjugated, CLA it's called, and it has fat soluble vitamins, which are much needed, especially with the COVID. We say we need a vitamin D, like especially for the people and the women, they mostly get deficient in vitamin D. And you can get a vitamin A, vitamin D, and E from the ghee. So you don't eat raw ghee on top of your curries. You can have any age or gender, or even kids. It's safe for them. The ghee can be taken 2 to 4 teaspoons daily, in the form of, like, either you use that for cooking your food, or you add it like into your soups and stuff like that. But 2 to 4 teaspoons of ghee a day doesn't make you put on weight. And it's a monounsaturated fat, which is absorbable. It can be assimilated and can be digested in a very, very effective manner, because more than probiotics, we need a prebiotics for the optimum gut, to get a gut-friendly bacteria, which is there even in lassi, the buttermilk. And you can get the prebiotics from the lassi, the buttermilk, and you can just blend it into by adding a little bit of water in the yogurt and make it thin, and add, as I said, the Himalayan pink salt, roasted cumins, dry roasted cumin seeds powder, and a little bit of black pepper powder. So you can drink that, or you take it with, if you like it sweet, you can add make a sweet lassi by adding Repadura sugar, or like I don't recommend that, but yeah, maybe raw sugar, because yogurt is considered sour, and then jaggery or Repadura is sweet. So it's very important to understand how you mix the combination of the taste, what you mix with what. So you can't just have cold ice cream with the sticky date pudding. That's the worst thing, but you can still have it. It's not gonna put on weight. Once in a while, as I said, please feel free to create happiness in you. Be conscious. If you're gonna be stressing about something, you anyways will put on weight. So that's very, very important, to be happier in yourself and eat and do whatever, because you know what you had been eating since your childhood. So your digestion and your metabolism gets fixed with that type of foods, what you have been eating since your childhood, or your parents or grandparents had been feeding you. So don't worry that you have to go on the specific type of diet. If you eat Indian, Chinese, Italian, Spanish, whatever, doesn't matter. You eat what you eat. You need to be happier and merrier to be able to lose weight and lose fat, I would say. So inculcating the awareness. And that's where we are today, from knowing to doing. So we need to know what to do and what to eat, what not to eat, that our body tells ourselves. Saying, I did a talk on epigenetics, which means, can you change the genes by getting onto Ayurvedic diet and lifestyle? I say, yes, you can even change the genes, because it's just a shift. Genes is just the expression. It's like switching on and off the button. So why can't you change on to off and off to on when you can do that in the switch? You can definitely switch your genes. You can change your genes by following the diet and lifestyle. So all you need is to inculcate that consciousness, awareness in yourself, and knowing what you are going to do, you would be able to still lose weight and be merrier and happier. So, how we say it? Power of now. So when is the best time to start? It's now. Start the journey, begin the journey. Get up. As soon as you get up in the morning, you need to get up fresh, active, not sluggish with a headache, heavy head, and all that by being awake till late at night. So when we talk about the principles, okay, the first principle when you follow, cutting down on the tea and the coffee, how it benefits you. It increases your blood sugar and energy levels, which obviously will lead to an increase in metabolic rate and fat burning, and a decrease in bloating, reflux, acidity, and will reduce chances of overeating later in the day. So stabilize your blood sugar levels throughout the day, which means obviously less chances of getting fat. So now, when you do follow the second principle of eating every 2 hours, how that would benefit. It's eating every 2 hours would lead to a conducive environment in the body to burn fat. It fuels the calories converted to fat, less dependence on the stimulants like tea or coffee, smarter thinking because the brain gets the regular flow of sugar, which is the happy hormones, the serotonin and the dopamine needs to be released by increasing the blood sugar level with the flow of oxygen to the brain. So it will flatter your stomach. No need to hold on to the fat stores. Yeah. So then the third principle, where we mentioned about food is basically very, very important to eat more when you are more active and less when you're less active. How does that benefit? Eating more food when you are more active will make your body an efficient calorie burner, which will increase the metabolic rate of your body and which will help you stay energetic during the day and will help you lose fat more effectively, right? And the last principle, to eat at least 2 hours before the bedtime. And there is a lot of things I would mention where people try to watch TV in the bedroom. We need to cut down on that. We need to not have a coffee or tea past dinner. And dessert always needs to be taken before the dinner to absorb the carbs or the fat, and then have a meal after that. That's a new trend, and the Western trend that you eat ice cream or something sweet after the food. No, you should eat according to Ayurveda. The dessert or the sweetener needs to be taken because it takes longer to absorb or digest in the body. So because it aggravates kapha, and food anyways, after that you feel a bit slow and you feel energetic, but you feel a bit lazy because the kapha gets aggravated after eating the food. So you don't want to add more kapha by eating the dessert after, which is going to lead to put on weight. So you need, if you are going to have a sweet before the dinner, I promise you won't put on fat. And then even a lot of people like I have no, I'm not like kind of like hesitant to talk about like sexual life or the sexual relationship. A lot of women think that the sex can make them put on weight. That's not right. To have that pleasure or marry time with your loving partner or husband or whoever, you don't put on weight because of that. It's the healthier relationship actually releases the happy hormones, the serotonin and dopamine, and makes you happier and lighter, to be wanted, to be loved. And it's the necessity of our life to have that healthy relationship. And to eat 2 hours before bedtime, how it benefits. It will lead to most of your food being digested before you go to bed, as I mentioned, which will lead to sound sleep. If people have insomnia issues, sleeping disorders and all that, they can certainly have a sound sleep if they have a dinner 2 hours before sleep, bedtime. And the milk, a lot of, especially the North Indians, like there is a kind of like habit of drinking the milk at bedtime, which is the worst, because even milk is a comfort food and it takes like 2-3 hours to digest the milk. And if you're going to have it at bedtime, it will keep sitting there. So it's always preferable during the evening tea time, if you want to have a golden milk or a turmeric milk or a milk with the turmeric, don't boil the turmeric, boil the milk and add the turmeric after to get the maximum benefit of the curcumin in the turmeric. And raw turmeric is the best, but you can, if it's difficult, you can even buy the powder. It has a little bit of chili in it, but it doesn't matter. You can find like a pure one at a lot of like health food stores or grocery stores in the West, but in India, it's not a problem at all. In the rest part of the Western countries, you can always seek for good organic or biodynamic or health food stores or something like that. You can buy the powder or from a Chinese vegetarian, like vegetable shop or something. They always keep a raw roots of the turmeric, which is not a big deal. Or from an Ayurvedic practitioner. You don't need to buy the expensive capsules of turmeric. You just need a pure turmeric to get the benefit of the curcumin. The only way you can do is, and you don't need black pepper or anything to metabolize or get the better effect of the turmeric in the milk. So, which will also leave your body free to do its repair mechanism. That body every night does that repair mechanism. So it needs to be empty and not dumped in with a food after the food or intoxicants like tea or coffee. Tea as Ayurvedic chai tea, that's a little bit different, but you can have that 2 or 3 cups during the day, but try not having it at night at the bedtime. And that's refreshing and calming, good for the digestion, because you add a cardamom, the crushed cloves and the crushed green cardamoms, and you add a little bit of fennel seeds and a little bit of ajwain, which is I think it's called carom seeds, and which will make your body basically more effective in burning the fat, the unwanted fat. So that's all for today. I think I'm pretty much on time, and just take a little bit extra time. So I would like to thank you and say namaste to everyone. And the most important tip last before I go. So eat the food at the time when your right solar energy is flowing through your right nostril, which is very, very important, because that would help you to have a better digestion of the food, because every 90 minutes, we call it as a Ida, Pingla, Sushumna. So the left, the right, and the middle. So Ida, Pingla, Sushumna. And when your every 90 minutes, the solar energy flows, so when it's flowing through basically the right nostril, and your right nostril is it only one at a time, both doesn't work. Like if you even keep the two fingertips at the front of your nostrils, you can sense it that only one is working at a time. So every 90 minutes that shifts by itself, like from left to right and right to left. So make sure when the solar energy is flowing through, and the breath is flowing through the right nostril, that's when you should start beginning to eat, which is going to help you with your better digestion and a better metabolic health. So that's especially for the women from another woman. Dr. Vanita, thank you. Namaste. Feel free to send me an email or anything if you need any questions or anything like that. It's Vanita@Ayurveda.com.au, and I'm based in Melbourne, Australia. So anyone have any questions, feel free to send me an email or contact Dr. Naveen Joshi from Ayush Darpan portal, from where I generally do a lot of from Australia. I do the live shows with the support of Dr. Naveen. So thank you so much, Dr. Naveen Joshi. And
thank you, Dr. Vanita. Thanks a lot.